Allegiance, if Mr. Kelleher is online, we don't see him. All right, if not, I'll lead the invocation. I'm asking Mayor Pro Tem Schooler to lead us in tonight's Pledge of Allegiance, and then if you'd like to join us for the invocation, please remain standing.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this opportunity to serve our community. Lord, we thank you for all those that are gathered here tonight online or as well as in the room, and those that will be watching. We ask your blessing upon this community. Give us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Give us compassion for our mankind. And as always, we lift up all those that are serving here and abroad. Keep them safe. We ask this now in your name. Amen.
Amen. Sorry about that.
Thank you. I need a motion for the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Councilmembers Dennison?
Yes.
Droz?
Yes.
Lombardo?
Yes.
Schooler?
Yes.
And Mayor Abel?
Yes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are routine matters or formal documents covering previous town council instructions. Items are enacted by one motion and a second without separate discussion unless a member of the town council or town staff requests dialogue on a specific item at the beginning of the meeting. Requests for public comments on the consent items should be filed with the town clerk. If the staff will read the consent agenda, please. Titles.
Be happy to do that for you, Mayor. On item number 1, waive further reading of all ordinances, read by title only. Number 2, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 292. Item 3 is your annual street drainage, landscape lighting, maintenance districts, approval of engineer report, and setting the public hearing for your meeting of June 15th, 2021. Item number 4 is a waste disposal agreement amendment, another 5-year amendment for that agreement of using the Landers landfill. Item number 5, State Controller's Office review report confirming adherence to the rules and regulations for the road maintenance and rehabilitation program, basically a clean audit. Spending limitation for your fiscal year 2021-2022, GAN limit. Item number 7 is your AB 1234 reporting requirements. And finally, number 8 is the ratification of the warrant registers for the periods listed.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone asking to speak on the consent agenda? No? Anyone in the room wishing to speak on the agenda, consent agenda? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion. Or is anyone wanting to pull an item? I'm sorry. Excuse me. Not hearing any.
I'll move that we approve the agenda.
And I'll second.
Motion and a second. No further discussion. Roll call.
Councilmembers Dennison?
Yes.
Droz?
Yes.
Lombardo?
Yes.
Schooler?
Yes.
And Mayor Abel?
Yes. Thank you. We'll move on to our first department report.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. I'm just waiting for the PowerPoint to get put up. No, the second one. Yeah. There you go. Okay. All right, so this evening I'm going to be bringing to you information about our household hazardous drive-through collection event that we had on April 24th. Click the screen so I can, there you go. Okay. I go back. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties here. There you go. All right, so the recommendation is that the town council receive and file the statistical information from the household hazardous waste drive-through collection event that the town held on April 24th, 2021. With the renewal of the last household hazardous waste collection contract, the town has in place with the county, staff negotiated to have the county provide 2 on-site household collection events. The event was originally planned for 2020, but was delayed due to COVID-19. So the town was finally able to hold the first drive-through collection event on April 24th in collaboration with San Bernardino County Fire Department. This was held in the north parking lot of the community center, and this is a picture of the flyer that we used to advertise the event. The event setup was approximately 25 county fire staff who arrived in the big 6 large box trucks that you can see in the picture here. And then they laid out about 100 feet of plastic sheeting over the parking lot and built their collection stations where they would be collecting the various forms of household hazardous waste, such as batteries, paint, motor oil, that type of thing. Before the event, our town's public works department created a traffic control plan and coned off the surrounding roads so that we would have effective traffic control for this event. So this is what the setup looks like. We're ready for customers at this point. They would be driving through in those cones there and stopping at the canopies to drop off their hazardous waste. We had 5 town staff on site that day. They were doing traffic control, check-in, and giving away some of the giveaways, and also providing directional guidance on how to get into the event. The giveaways from the county included oil containers, funnels and rags, and also sharps containers. We also took an opportunity to provide everybody who came through with recycling education that you can see on the left that Burtech printed up. It describes what can be recycled, what can be reduced, what can be donated, and what's being blocked. On the bottom of the screen, it talks about, it has a QR code for SB 1383 education. And then also, we provided them with a flyer that was also alerting them to the May 15th community cleanup that we just had last Saturday. So we actually had a very successful event. We had 230 cars come through in a 4-hour period. Not bad for our first event. We collected about 15,500 pounds of household hazardous waste and a little over 3,600 pounds of e-waste, so a total collection of a little over 19,000 pounds of household hazardous waste and e-waste were collected at this event. Here are some more pictures. This is a picture of the lineup right as we were beginning the event. And if you can see, the cars are lined up all the way back on both sides of the street, all the way back to the intersection of Antelope. So we had a lot of people in line waiting to come to this event. And here's some more pictures of some oil and different things being collected, some e-waste being collected. This is an interesting picture. They took a picture of this in line, paint and different things in the back of this truck, and then it being offloaded by the county fire personnel. This is a breakdown of the different things that were collected. As you can see, paint was a big one right here. Motor oil was a big one. We had a lot of batteries, of course, the e-waste, and then some flammable solids and liquids, which would be like kerosene, acetone, gasoline, matches, that type of thing. Some more pictures of the actual event, cars going through, stopping at the different stations. We also have a breakdown as to who visited our event, and of the 230 participants, a majority of them came from Yucca Valley, so about 68% came from here, 14% from Joshua Tree, 5% from Morongo Valley, and we even had one person from Yucaipa. Some more pictures of the actual event, guy collecting a bunch of batteries and all the e-waste that's getting piled up there on the left. We also found out how people heard about us, which is helpful to us for future marketing strategies. As you can see, Facebook was a huge place where people found out about this event. Also, we advertised in the newspaper, on the radio, on the internet. Both the county and the town, we both did advertising in newspapers, on the radio, using flyers, on our website, on our social media. And so it was interesting to see where they heard about this event for future events. So overall, for the first time that we had this event, it was actually a pretty huge success. We were definitely hopping. We weren't expecting that many people, but we're glad everybody showed up and that there was a definite interest for it. We're going to be working with San Bernardino County Fire personnel to plan another household hazardous waste event. Hopefully next spring is the plan. And we will bring more details to council as soon as they become available. I also wanted to remind everybody that we do have a household hazardous waste facility in Joshua Tree that is normally open every third Saturday of the month, but right now they are open twice a month through the month of through the month of August. They are open on the first and third Saturday of the month right now through August from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. They had just reopened their facility in January after doing some remodeling, and so this is the graphic that we use to highlight that, but it also includes the map as to where it's located. So you can always go there and drop off your household hazardous waste. So again, the recommendation is that the council receive and file the statistical information from the household hazardous waste drive-through collection event that the town held on April 24th, 2021. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions following public comment.
Mayor, if I might just add a couple of other comments. I know Assistant Chief Tuttle is here, so I'd be happy to invite him up as well from the fire department's perspective if he has any additional comments. But I did want to just highlight that this was a request of the council a couple of years back, I believe in one of the cycles where we were evaluating and updating our household hazardous waste contract with San Bernardino County Fire. It's a relatively costly contract for the town, and we wanted to ensure that the residents were taking advantage of it, and so that was the request of the town council, was to ensure that the community had an opportunity to have an event like this where they don't necessarily have to go out to Joshua Tree, but had the opportunity to use it here locally. And so grateful for the cooperation with San Bernardino County Fire. Assistant Chief, I didn't know if you had any other comments you wanted to give.
No, Jessica summed it up pretty well. We're happy to partner with the town to provide the service. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any members of the public who would like to comment on this presentation, hazardous waste collection? All right. We'll bring it back to the council. First of all, I would like to thank you guys very much for doing a survey. I think that's very important when we do things like this, to get feedback, you know, who's participating, how they heard about it. So as you said, we can be more effective in getting the word out and so forth. As you see, it's not just one form of outreach that reaches the masses, but it's good to get that kind of information. And if we can find out when Yucca has their day, we can send one resident down there as well. So. But thank you for that. Any questions or comments? Councilmember Drodes.
I just want to say, you know, we're all busy with our days and working and doing our own things. But when I see a presentation like this, it's like, oh, I should have been there. You know, it's like, so as a council member, it's like, it's a reminder we need to go to these events and be there in person. And I appreciate everything you did. Thank you.
Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you to the town. This was a good opportunity and a demonstration to see if we could get more participation and if it was needed in our community, and it obviously was. And so thank you for everyone taking the time to make this event a success, and the staff for coordinating with our county fire partners and bringing it into our community. It was obviously a great event, and I think next year we could even help improve our environment by collecting more and more waste closer to home. Thank you.
Excellent. Yes.
The timing was good too, with it being in the spring, and Earth Day was close by, wasn't it, associated with that? And I think it was great. I was cleaning out my garage, so it was good timing.
Good. I think it's really important that people know, and I'm glad you reminded us that, gosh, there's really no excuse to put hazardous waste in our trash, in our landfills. There is a proper way of disposing it. You can set it off to the side in a box, and then when those Saturdays come up, the first and the third Saturday all the way up to August, it's not that far to Joshua Tree to drop them off. And as I believe Councilmember Dennison mentioned, it was a real quick process. When he went up, they took care of it. You never get out of your car. They took care of it and disposed of it properly. So that's a really good reminder to our citizens. don't put it in the trash cans to wait for hazardous waste days. All right. We'll receive and file. Thank you for that report. We'll move on to item number 10, department report on a very exciting town hall consolidation project.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The recommendation before the Council this evening is a two-part. Number one, receive and file a presentation on the initial needs analysis regarding the Town Hall Consolidation Project. Provide input as you folks see desirable this evening. And then secondly, consider the award of a professional services agreement to GPA for a total not to exceed amount of $90,000 for tasks 1 and 2 of the project work plan, with the option to complete tasks 3 through 7 if approved and authorized after the completion of tasks 1 and 2, and authorize the town manager and town attorney to sign all necessary documents to complete the project. A little bit of background on this. In the spring of 2020, the town completed the rehabilitation of the prior PFF bank building. It's the one on Highway 62 and 247. Through the completion of that project, the prior library site was vacated and now is able to be considered as part of our broader, long-standing town goal of consolidating most of our publicly offered services. This would include the relocation of the majority of community development functions, including engineering, building and safety, code compliance, to a consolidated town hall location. And by doing that, you'll recollect that the council, this is one of the high priority projects in your adopted strategic plan. It would provide the community with a single point of contact for most services, and additionally, it will allow for efficiency gains in staffing, resources, and administrative support. Town recently engaged GPA to assist the town in performing a needs assessment, really just a high-level initial look at, does the building work for our intended purposes before we even move forward to the next steps. GPA has completed this initial block diagram process as well as a rough order magnitude of costs for the projects, and we'll present that for you this evening. And then we'll talk a little bit later about the next steps and what that might be as we look at steps 1 and 2 of the attached proposal that you have to your staff report as an attachment. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jack Panachapin from GPA, and he's going to walk through the presentation for you this evening on the Town Hall Consolidation Project. So Jack, hopefully you can hear us. You can unmute yourself and be able to share your screen and walk through that presentation for the council.
All right, so let's see if I share my screen first. Okay, so good evening, Mr. Mayor and Town Council and people in the audience. My name is Jack Panachapin. I'm the president of Gillis and Panachapin Architects. So just want to make sure everyone hear me, right? And see my screen.
Yes, we can hear you fine. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you. So what I would like to present today is, the town hall need assessments, or another word, what I call is a one-stop stop, right? So if you recall, we did the need assessments over a decade ago, and we're looking at it, and we kind of, GPA and the staff has come to a certain conclusion that would be a good service to the town and the community if we can bring all the service at one place, especially at the town hall. So we went back, to look at old need assessments and work with the staff, and then we see what can we do, to make adjustment, because over a decade is a long time ago, and we the business, of the towns and so on, it probably changed. So we go to those functions and kind of come out with a number, with the current staff and what we're looking at in the future, and what can we do, to all these departments, the town manager group, a deputy town manager, administrative service department, community development, public works and engineering, and so on. So, and that also is a task for us to find a way to bring the council chamber also at the same place. So, what we did is we look into individual, like all these names from town manager group. So we see what's the current, staff, and what's the future look like. So the numbers look like a redundancy, but what we want is the bottom lines, from a 3, so we may grow to 5, so what type of space do we need, right? Do we need the private office, or we work Do we need a workstations? So how is that calculated? Because at this point, we just want to see what is the total number of the square foot do we have that can serve the town. And we went to all the 5 departments. I have mentioned, I can go to details. I don't know how much time do I have, but basically we make adjustment from 10 years ago to today. And as it's come down to it is very close number. When we're looking at the town hall, the portion where the current town manager and where it used to be the county library. So when we're looking at that location, we said, you know what? We can do something about it and try to bring in. So if you, just to get some memory that all the bottom portion of it, this is where the current, the staff located. And then we have the empty area for which is the library have moved to across the street. And with that program that we have, so we try to outfit and see what can we do to make it. So this is the new layout that we were thinking. The only thing that we have to do to enlarge a little area is the overhang area that when you walk to the old library. Right, so we enclose that area. So we want to make sure that we have a large enough lobby area. So when we have the town council meetings or this place, the way we lay out it could be a multi-function space, because the only fixed areas in the council chamber. Everything else is a movable furniture, so we can rearrange, readjust it, and utilize the AV system that we have in the council chamber for different type of meetings or trainings, perhaps. And with that said, the lobbies also have 2 doors that go out to both sides of the parking lot that you have. And then across from the council chamber is also the conference room, good sized conference rooms that could fit 12 to 16 people. So that also can serve as a closed sessions, if you need one, so you don't have to ask the audience to get out of the room. So the town council can move into the closed session, or I would call the conference room, that staff would utilize it day to day. And also have the restroom available, to the public, right? So when the public come in during the council meeting, so they have the large area that they can gather before they get inside, and then they have an area. The town would have the area for the storage to keep all the furniture, different function that they can transfer this. But during the day, so that hallways also serve as the main public counter. That you would have the engineering department, you would have public and safety, you have a code compliance, also a town manager. So that counter will serve the entire community with one stop, right? Because right now you need to look at your house to renovation, so you have to go to public work yards, right, to get the permit. And so in this case we will bring all the service in one stop, right? So with that said, and then behind the counter, that's where the different groups, we have the engineering, we have the plannings, we have the town manager, we have the finance, and so on. So within the confine of the existing buildings. So which is that's a great thing. So we don't have to add on anything, only like I mentioned, just enclose that area to make sure the lobbies is large enough. So by doing this, so we also going to the ADA compliant, so everything that you see here from the restroom, the public restrooms, and all the public counter, we'll make sure that everything is up to the current ADA compliance code. So that's a great thing. So, and then let's see. So the main entrance, public counter, restroom, council chamber, conference room, all the workspace will be ADA compliance. And then the next step is, so when we look at it, there's a 2-way we can do it, so we can move the current staff, that located at the town hall right now to the unoccupied space, within the civics campus, right? So to do that, and then that way the contractor can take the entire area and they do work at once, right? So when we're done with that, then we move back into the facility. But there's another way as well. So what I showing you is to do a facing. So because take advantage of the the old public space area, which is unoccupied at this point, and start develop, working in that area first, while the current staff will stay, at their current locations. And then as soon as that's done, then we move, the current staff who are in that area into that opening area, and then working on the phase 2. And then when we're done, then we will, bring people from public work yards and, somebody offsite and bring it back into the new renovated town hall. The pro and cons with that is, when you leave this, when we do the phase 1, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of noise, which is pretty much interrupting the current staff that in that area, right? But and also this process, the 2-step process, it probably take maybe a month or 2 longer than if we could allow the contractor to work throughout the town hall. So that's the pro and con with that. So we'll work with staff how to go, but here we go. This is the number. So to do, so we take the unit cost estimates. When I didn't point out when we do a need assessments, we kind of identify the 2 or 3 different types of space. For example, we call it office 1. That is a typical standard office that you may see. So a carpet floor. The 8'6" ceiling with acoustical tile, something simple, right, for the office. And then we have the office 2, which is something that we like to build nicer, than a typical office. For example, that would be a lobby area, the meeting rooms, because we have to add some cost for the audio, video, and so on. And then the third area that we're looking at is a plumbing area. So anything have to do with plumbing, restroom, and so on. So we kind of make that number. That would be the first estimate. And this number is also already including the contractor overhead and profit, some insurance, some soft costs on the design fee, and so on. So in other words, this is the overall budget, right, to do the renovations at this point. It would take about $5 million and 5.1 million. So let me round that off. And then one thing that we'll probably look into it, since we renovate, the entire facility, so we may look at the opportunity to enhance the exterior improvement as well, right? Along with the accessibility from the site work, from the site work standpoint. I'm talking about when you have the handicap, vehicle coming in, parked from their store, and then from that point, how they roll it in, into our facility. So the overall number would be $5.4 million. And we also look into what if we build a brand new one? So how much would it cost? Right. So it turned out just the building to building alone, to build a brand new one, it would be about $1.7 million more. But when we have a workshop with the staff, it's also we're talking about, but that's not the end. We have to get land acquisitions. We have to get some site work, because if we move to outside of the town hall campus, we have to build the parking lots and so on. So now the number is not just only 1.7 million, it's almost double, right, to get to that point. And so how's this project schedule would do? So if we start the projects, sometime in the August 21st, this year, 1st of August, by mid-September, we would have some the first part of the work done, because the building is kind of, I would say, have some age to it. So we want to make sure that we look into different systems, the electrical system, mechanical system, and see what is the structure system that currently on that buildings. So that would be the first step that we do. And then by the end of October of this year, so we would have the design development done. So in other words, we'll be able to know, what do we have to do in order to move on. And at that point, we probably have a better idea of how much it's going to cost as far as the construction cost. So because now we have more detail, we can estimate a better number, be more accurate. And then if the project is moving forward, so by the end of the year, so we would have about 60% of construction document done. And then when we begin, to the 2022, by the end of February, we will have a 90% complete, which is at that point, we were working with the building and safety, trying all fire marshals and so on, the different group to get all the entitlements, and then we assuming it would take about 8 weeks, to get the entitlement complete. And by mid of May, so about this time, so we would have the construction document 100% and ready to advertise for bids and so on. And so it would take us about a year, to complete this task, if you're counting from today. So. And then from that point, will probably take us several months, to get to advertise for bidding and get a qualified contractor to do the jobs. And then, and I'm expecting approximately about 8 months for the constructions. So, and should I stop at this point? And well, okay. So the next step, I should hold on to this and ask if anyone have any questions and so on.
Jack, why don't you go ahead and just cover the last, since there's only 2 more slides, just cover the last 2, and then we'll open up for public comment and then council questions.
Okay, so the way GPA was looking at it, so we think we should the next step, even though the previous slide I was showing you a different step, but I think the first step what we need to do is to get the information gathering. Like I said, to get what existing condition is, what do we need to do, and then go to the task 1 and task 2 to get the design development phase that's on board, and then. And come back to the town council and asking for approval to move forward. If we in line with the budget that the town may have, and then we can move forward to the construction document, which is the second part on the blue area. So to finish the construction document and then build the project. And I think that was my last one. Yes. So.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate that. Maybe having some additional questions here. Just a couple of final thoughts, Mayor and Council. So again, the couple of significant benefits as we move forward with this project. One is you have the empty space available. And if, for example, Jack talked a little bit about the possibility of building new, that doesn't address what you're going to do with your existing facility. Another thing to keep in mind is that I think Councilmember Schooler and I were talking this morning about the current age of the building as it exists today, and it's about 50 years old for some of the original building. And so irrespective of whether we move forward with this project, there are going to be additional costs that are coming the town's way in terms of rehabilitation of some of your existing facilities. As you walk through Town Hall, there's a number of things that need to occur, and that does not include, or we could say it, I guess, alternatively, the same conditions may be over at community development where some of that building needs some additional improvements as well. And so this, whether we move forward with this project or not, those costs will be incurred. And then finally, again, for the public, for them to have a one-stop shop and for the town to be able to leverage efficiency and staffing and how we have some of our central support functions, this is really what's driving a lot of the conversation behind the ability to bring all of our folks under one roof and be able to provide that service to the public. So with that, be happy to answer questions, either staff or our consultant after public comment.
All right, very good. We'll open up to public comment. Anyone online or in the room that'd like to make a comment or have questions for the staff or the contractor? All right. Seeing none, we'll bring it back to council. Yes, Councilmember Lombardo.
I think it's a very interesting concept, and I like seeing what's been spelled out so far. If we were to go and renovate the empty space now, would there be additional savings in overhead costs such as electricity, water usage, efficiencies with the air conditioning and that sort of thing that might offset some of the cost as well? If we were to go to like LED lights and we use maybe solar panels and collected some of our own electricity producing ability with the roof space, those kind of things, is there some advantage to that?
Yeah, I think there's probably two answers to that, and I'll let Jack talk about some efficiencies in current building standards. I would just address the efficiencies that you would obviously have if you're reducing your activity at two separate distinct campuses that are being run full-time to one where now is really just a corporate yard and all of your activity is now centralized. So definitely you're going to have not only some potential utility costs, things like that, but probably more importantly is the ability to leverage your existing staffing structure to deliver services for all of the departments instead of having two separate campuses. Jack, you want to talk a little bit about current efficiencies versus what we may have in our existing building footprints?
Right. So with the renovations at these magnitudes, we would have to change, all of the light fixture to make to the low consumption types, and then one thing that the building code was asking for is the energy efficiency. Is not only from the electrical standpoint, from the mechanical standpoint as well. That's why we have some additional number budget in for replacing the certain window or certain area that we think that would be the area that the energy leak, the way we're looking at it. So that way you have to comply with the current code, which is definitely it will save the utility bill for sure. I mean that is a given, because the current code is much more stingy than the old code that this building used to take at that time. Also, the water as well, because all the plumbing fixture would have to be low flow consumptions and so on.
Right. Is there, on a 50-year-old building, there's still a reasonably long-term life expectancy of the major structures? But you'll figure that out when you do the assessment, right?
That's correct.
And we'll know more numbers a little bit farther down the line. So yes. I'm okay with that. It just, when you have a municipal building, what is the expected life cycle for something like this building here? Is it 70 years? Is it, we're at the end of 50 years? Is it going to fall apart? Is there any way to tell that?
Well, for our standard to build a public agency building, so we're expecting the building to last at least 50 years.
60.
Sure. 50, and that is our number. That's why a lot of our project we're building with a masonry block, something that's going to last you a very long time. Okay. Right. So as far as structure concerned, maybe when they look at it at this point, what can we do? We may looking at the roof connection to the wall. We might upgrade the structural components, to make sure that the building withstand, for additional earthquakes and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So we will know more after we done the first phase that if building is good to go, or I may have a different recommendation at that point, but I'm assuming, we're still good to go.
Because we did find a few surprises when we renovated the Well, the PFF building, also the Welcome Center is what I was thinking, is that once they took part of the wall apart, they found something they didn't expect. So
Right. Yeah.
you'll be looking into that in the future, and I think that'll give us more information. But so far, sounds like a really great idea.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you, Jack.
Councilmember Droz, not now. Anyone else? Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem?
Well, I'm still kind of at the sticker shock stage, but is there, Curtis, is there other funding available, or do we, I know that we've, got good reserves and everything, but is there funding available for something like this with all the federal assistance that's going out?
So there may be. It depends how the funding package is put together. We've talked to the council a little bit about some of your other capital projects that you have moving forward. We've talked a little bit about the ability to consolidate some of our funding needs, possibly with additional external financing that may come in. Or there may be additional grant fundings, whether it's through the American Recovery Act, if we can look at how the new improvements may be able to not only increase our ability to serve the public, but to do it in a way that is more responsive to potential pandemics like we've had with COVID. And so there may be opportunities in funding as well as your existing reserves. But we would be putting that package together while phase 1 and 2 come through, so that at that point you would have a fuller picture of what that looks like.
And then I know this will certainly meet our current needs, but are we working in, or are we going to get a clear picture of growth and future needs, and how long would it be till we outgrow it, and things like the computer cabling and so forth? I mean, can we make it sufficient for a really long time?
At this point, the way we're looking at it is, all the cablings, including the power cable or data cables and so on at the current facility, when we go this far, we'll probably have to replace all of them. So to make sure that it's going to last, for you at least the next 20 years or more. So as far as furniture and room layouts and so on, what we try to do is we try to have as much open space as we can. So in that way, we can make adjustment to it, and we can utilize some of the area, for future staff and so on and so forth. So as you may see, I try to put all the room, along the perimeter, and then try to open up as much as we can. And that issue have happened when we do with the staff workshop and so on, because people currently work from home. A lot of us work from home, and what do we do with that, right? So we might invest in our infrastructure as far as come to how the data is and IT concerned. In that case, when we have this project and make sure that we can, this project will last us for the next 30 years at least. Yeah.
I would just add on to that. So specifically to your question on future growth, I think right now we have built in about a 25 to 30% growth in staffing between what's current today and what we would be able to accommodate in the conceptual diagram that you have before you this evening. Two other comments. You may notice that community services is not in this facility. You'll recollect that in council conversations and evaluation of your new Prop 68 project, one of the goals is to ensure that our existing community services staff is functioning out of that new facility so that we can leverage, again, resources for staffing of those new facilities. And then when that occurs, obviously you're going to have additional spacing here at Town Hall that will be vacated. And so that was some of the thought on, as we looked at the conceptual block diagrams here, one of the earlier iterations had an expanded footprint of the building envelope. And our thought was, why don't we try and reduce the cost, speaking of sticker shock, as much as we can to ensure that as we have better clarity through the other projects and where staff will ultimately be. And we may have some additional space that we can use for support functions like an expanded lunchroom or some other areas that we may not necessarily have to put in this first phase of the rehabilitation project.
Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Yeah, and I don't I don't doubt the costs involved because it is a big project and it's one that's long overdue. I have some very strong opinions at this point without hearing any more public comment and so forth. But my big opinion is that we definitely don't want to consider any type of new building. I think we're really about infill and land that's already been disturbed to be utilized to its best ability. So I would be very much against going off-site and developing land that's not developed at this point. I would rather do an infill project right here at Town Hall. Also, I have strong feelings that this type of project is going to help us in the long run. Definitely want to look at things like productivity. I think our staff will be much more productive when we're at one site, when somebody is out absent or somebody is out on assignment. The service that the public would get would not be dropped and would not be diminished because of that employee being gone, because there would be other staff members that are cross-trained in that particular job that could fill right in a very, very seamless process for those people visiting Town Hall. Also, I have a concern about environmental concerns, and I'm glad we brought that up as far as efficiency with electricity and with plumbing. I definitely would like to see a possibility of having some type of solar power element built into this with all this roof line that we have above us. I think it's high time that we make sure and be an example of environmental concerns. So I'd like to see some type of way of saving on the environment. I know we'll save on the environment of people driving to and from, staff always driving from one facility to the other in their cars. Now they just walk across a hallway, so they use manpower instead of horsepower. The other thing I have is concerns for employees. I think it's really important that we come up with a plan that would allow staff to get away from the construction site as possible. I don't want to see a 2 or 3 month addition to the construction by doing it in a phase type of situation. When there's construction going on, the employee's productivity is going to go down. There could be some health risks as well with, all kinds of debris being moved around and so forth. So if we can move staff down to maybe this building and make it work for temporary, I think productivity would continue to be good instead of dealing with hammering, sawing, and interruptions and power and all those things. So I'd like to have staff work with you in eventually getting to where we can have everybody out of the site as much as possible to where we can have construction over the entire facility. And if we're going to do this, we definitely need to do a facelift on the entire building because it's a project well worth investing in for the long term. So I think that's the main things. Oh, the other one was an element. I saw that the council chambers, now we call it council chambers, but we know planning department's going to be using it. Park and recreation is going to be using it. The staff could be using it for presentations. We could open it up to the community to use it. MBTA could come. So it's going to be a meeting room. I know it won't be just a council chamber, but a lot of the time and manpower and waste of energy and effort in setting up and breaking down this rooms, especially when we get our recreation programs back, is just tremendous. So I think that will be cost savings down the line too, to have that particular area set aside, already set for the most part, but still giving us some flexibility of other uses. But I'd like to make sure that it's sort of compartmentalized too, because that's a large space. If we don't need to heat it and cool it for most of the time, I don't want to be spending the electricity or power to do so. So I'm sure you take all those things in consideration. You guys are cutting edge as far as technology, and you're in the construction trade. So those are my strong opinions about the project. I think it's definitely going to be worth the investment for our community, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you come up with in our design. Any other council member comments or questions? All right, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And I agree with the comments that you made. I think that's very important. But I also have a strong opinion on phasing of it and the disruption within the town and productivity. So I would like to see you had shown 2 different plans, which I think is great. It would still be there as some kind of concession if there was something that was not able to move forward. But I would much rather see the entire project happen at one time to have disruption for not just us, but the community that uses this facility at one period as opposed to breaking it down into two. But the other items that the mayor said I feel very strongly about also, and I appreciate that. And thank you very much for the presentation. Very well done. The initial outline here that's proposed looks pretty good. I like a lot of the features, and I look forward to having more discussions.
Thank you. I'm going to move that we receive and file the presentation as presented tonight and to award the professional service agreement to GPA for the total not to exceed the $90,000 and all the other details stated in the staff report.
I'll second the item.
Motion is second, and if there's no further discussion, roll call.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. Thank you again for joining us tonight and the presentation.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you.
welcome. We'll move on to our next department report, number 13, proposed budget adoption.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll be reviewing the fiscal year 21-22 proposed budget for adoption. I'll wait for the PowerPoint to open here. Alrighty. It looks like my clicker isn't working. Can we go to the next slide? Great. So the reviews over the past several months have framed the proposed budget presented here this evening. Since the last review on May 4th, there have only been minor changes that have been implemented. The general policy direction of the fiscal year 21-22 budget is comprised of four main goals. Firstly, to implement the Council's approved strategic plan while providing a balanced budget without the use of reserves. These reserves were also reviewed to remain within the Town Council's current policy and provide a solid level for the upcoming year. Finally, the 21-22 fiscal year budget includes the town's reinstatement of programs and services to pre-COVID levels and to enhance the quality of life of the town's residents through programs possible through the implementation of Measure Y. As the budget adoption is finalized this evening, the town's budget cycle will move forward into monitoring the results and toward making adjustments as needed. So here is the town's general fund summary, which provides a year-to-year comparison of the year-end results of fiscal year 1920, the current year's budget and year-to-date results, and the proposed fiscal year 21-22 budget. I'm sorry, that's kind of hard to see. So this summary is also provided in your agenda packet. It's relatively similar to the town's draft review with a minor decrease to the proposed annual personnel services. Overall fiscal year 21-22 excess revenue over expenditures is proposed at $70,000, which provides a financially balanced budget for the year. The town's fiscal year 21-22 general fund budgeted revenues are proposed at a total of $13.8 million, which is made up of the primary sources, property tax, sales tax, transient occupancy tax, and franchise fee revenues. Each major revenue source includes conservative increases, which is based on current year trends and the projections of the town's consultants and various fiscal resources. The general fund expenditures received few adjustments from the council's prior review for a total proposed budget of $13.7 million in expenditures. Public safety and operating expenditures have remained the same, with minor adjustments made to personnel service costs as town staff was able to refine them to more exact amounts for the upcoming year's costs. The overall increases you see here for each major expenditure category stems from the comparison to prior year expenditure levels. So as you'll remember, these were all reduced by approximately 15% to prepare for potential revenue shortfalls from COVID-19. Therefore, those 15% increases you see in public safety and operating costs reflects the reinstatement of town's programs and services to pre-COVID levels and reinstating the general fund's full allocation of the annual Schedule A contract, which was accommodated by Measure Y last year. The trend line presented here reflects the town's general fund expenditures. All major cost categories have received relative increases year to year, which have closely reflected the town's revenue trends and increases to programs and services provided to the public. So for public safety, the fiscal year 21-22 Schedule A contract totals $5.8 million, which reflects a 3% increase from the prior year contract. The proposed budget accommodates this total contract amount with an increased allocation, or actually it's a decreased allocation from Measure Y for a total of funding for $1 million. Additional expenditures such as equipment costs are accommodated with additional grant funds included in the special revenue fund budgets. The operating supplies and services total $3.5 million. Cost savings were implemented in the prior year by each department, as I just mentioned, for those 15% decreases. Fiscal year 21-22 estimates that programs such as recreation, services and programs, and the contracted services for departments will all be fully reinstated to pre-COVID levels. The annual personnel service costs total $4.9 million. This increase to the annual cost stems from the additional 2 full-time planning technician positions and 2 part-time parks maintenance workers. In addition, the proposed budget includes the annual cost of living adjustment and the reinstatement of the 1% pension contribution. In addition, there was the implementation of the town's class and compensation study, which was reviewed in the draft. The fiscal year 21-22 fund balance is budgeted at 58%, which aligns with the council's current reserve policy of 50 to 55%. This conservative approach will provide the town with an added measure of financial flexibility should the need arise. So here's the 5-year general fund forecast. It was in the draft review as well. Staff took a little more time to review the estimates and was able to refine some of those and ended up making some adjustments to more closely align with the current forecasts. So you'll see here overall the 5-year forecast is projected at a more positive trend with the next 5 years remaining within the current reserve policy. The major adjustment that was made was the reinstatement of community service program revenues. The original 5-year forecast had those at current levels, which is greatly reduced because of the closures. So with those reopenings, potentially the ongoing program costs would be able to be offset, and therefore, as I previously mentioned, was able to create a more positive trend. And then as in the draft review, it was mentioned the town's policy is to always adopt a balanced budget, and the assessment of the town's fiscal outlook is made on a regular basis through the town's ongoing budget cycle. So for special revenue funds, here are your major special revenue funds. They received minimal adjustments since the council's draft review. These significant funds are provided here on the screen. Each special revenue fund is tracked separately with its own set of financial statements and reviewed in the town's annual audit. Significant projects budgeted in fiscal year 21-22 include several transportation and infrastructure projects with annual street maintenance, pedestrian and intersection improvements provided through transportation funds. Other major projects include the North Park Improvement Project funded by the Community Development Block Grant and the Aquatic and Community Center Project funded by Prop 68, and then the Town Hall Reorganization Project we just reviewed. So in summary, the recommendation before you is to adopt a resolution approving the fiscal year 21-22 proposed budget and designating those officials authorized to make requisitions for encumbrances. My apologies, it's not on the screen here, but there was also the recommendation to approve the amendment to the fiscal year 21-22 contract with the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department in the amount of $5,803,759 and authorize the town manager or mayor to sign on behalf of the town. And then lastly, under separate cover in your agenda is to adopt a resolution authorizing positions for fiscal year 21-22 and authorizing pay ranges for those positions for the fiscal year effective on the payroll date July 23rd, 2021. Please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
We'll move to public comments. Proposed budget adoption. Anyone wishing to speak? No accountants in the room? All right. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the board or the council. We thank you for those adjustments. I can understand exactly where you got those figures as far as why it's a little bit different. So that was well explained. I appreciate it. And also just continuing our conservative approach as far as balanced budgets are concerned, because we do have some big projects coming forward. We don't want to overextend ourselves or cut ourselves thin. And also thank you for the departments that took the time to cut back their spending by the 15% across the board, and some of them did even more. So thank you to all the department heads and all those working in those departments.
I think it's thank you for the presentation. It's another fine job, clearly explained. It's nice to see conservative game plan and to have good reserve, and that we seem to be moving in the right direction. And projections look a little rosier than what we thought just a year ago. And so I'm very pleased.
All right. We're looking for a motion and a second.
I'll move.
Okay. So moved.
Second.
And Mayor Pro Tem second.
Council members Dennison,
Yes?
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes. All right. Moving on to more active things than numbers. We'll move on to our next report, which is the spring summer community service plan programs. Staff report.
We couldn't do it without her. Mayor and Council, this is a regular item for you to review. This is the Spring Summer 2021 Program and Events Approval. The recommendation is that the Town Council accepts the recommendation of the Parks, Recreation, and Cultural Commission and approve the Spring Summer 2021 programs and events organized and conducted by the Community Services Department. Of course, it's been a difficult time in recreation, but the staff of the High Desert Nature Museum and the Recreation Division have developed a schedule of programs and events to offer. The spring ones we will review, and spring was a little bit of a tough time. We couldn't do some of our normal events, but we did do other events that we'll share with you. And then launching into summer, of course, things are looking a little more rosy. However, we go into it with an abundance of caution. We've been burned before, and so we want to make sure that we're careful as we embark on summer programming. I did want to mention here that we will be promoting through social media, media advertisement in newspaper and radio, which is very effective as well, and some customer direct mail and constant contact messaging. We will do a limited digital only guide. I know that our customers miss it, our guide, but the magazine is pretty expensive to produce, so we'll be doing a digital only guide of our upcoming programs. Spring update, spring months, the activities were limited. The community center remained closed. However, we're able to engage with the community. We got creative and we got really good at drive-through programs, of course, because of COVID. So we did, every week we put out our Recreation Weekly newsletter. And if you follow us on Facebook, you'll see that. We also send it out via constant contact to our database. We produce that every week. It has activities. We have fun recipes. We have crafts. We have, at-home games, lots of content in there every week to maintain contact with our customers. We also do present our contests in that communication. So we had for Easter, of course, as you know, we usually have a huge Easter egg hunt here at the community center. That's just not possible under the COVID regulations. So we did have an Easter egg extravaganza drive-through event. We were assisted by the youth commissioners, and we handed out 257 goodie bags in early April. We also had an online Easter egg decorating contest. We continued the senior meals drive-through program. We're still doing 140 to 200 meals per week. Averages on the high end, close to 200. So we still set up that. We're getting really good at doing traffic control. We also assisted with the hazardous waste collection event and put those skills to work for that as well. We're continuing with our esports events. So those are popular. We do those about 7 times a month. And we have some families that participate, and it's really fun, and it lets us engage with them remotely. The Youth Commission, actually, you'll see their presentation on June 1st, their end of term presentation. So we've been assisting them in executing their work plan, and they've been actually really busy. So I don't want to steal any of their thunder, so I'll let them make that presentation to you. We did launch our software, so if you've registered for anything, or feel free to make your new account on our new software. It's much more user-friendly. It's mobile-friendly. It's more secure, which is really important to us to protect our customers in that way. And we're pretty thrilled to have it up and running. In the next few weeks, we'll be adding the facility module to that, so folks will be able to request a facility online and basically do a facility reservation contactless. Our lifeguard certification courses, we actually ran 2 this year. We just completed our aquatics recruitment for the summer, and we had great candidates, and we actually filled up the staff positions. So we were a little nervous that we might not get enough recruits, but not only did we get enough recruits, but they were all really amazing. Just a few little reference photos of the stuff we had going on in spring. You see the youth commissioners down there on the right, and up at the drive-through Easter event, we had our lifeguard certification course, and of course some of our other items we had running. So moving into summer, we had some considerations. So when we were reviewing our programming, we wanted to make sure that the programs were safe and we were able to comply with all of the current regulations. We also evaluated the risk of loss and our ability to cancel if regulations changed. So that came into place, particularly for more expensive programs like concerts. If we planned on an in-person program, but then depending on how the regulations went, we had to do it as a Facebook Live. What were we spending on that program? And we wanted to make sure that we weren't overreaching as far as cost. Also, cost versus capacity permitted is you may be able to do something, but it's cost so much, and the capacity is so limited that it's really not worthwhile. We wanted to keep a mix of virtual and in-person activities to allow people to make their participation choices. Some of our customers aren't ready for in-person yet, and some really are. So we wanted to make sure we provided a variety. We also need to consider our existing staff levels. As you know, we really aren't staffed up for a full slate of programs, so we wanted to make sure that we were able to execute all of our programs with the existing staff. So, of course, we are getting ready for our grub stakes run. We toured the field today, the Yucca Valley High School Stadium, and I'm actually really excited because last year we had to cancel, and it's just a beautiful facility now. It's amazing to see it. My daughter ran track, so it's, I'm sure if she saw it today, she'd be so jealous. And just to see, I remember the portables where that beautiful building is now. It's just really great to go back there and see how terrific it looks. So the grub stakes run, we'll be able to make the COVID modifications that are required. So we're pretty excited about that. The Youth Commission will be submitting an entry into the Grub Stake Days virtual parade. Of course, they're not doing a in-person parade this year. 4th of July fireworks spectacular and summer concert series. We're taking a conservative approach and running 3 concerts this year instead of 6. So we're going to be doing the 4th of July. It is our 30th anniversary, so we have increased the number of fireworks, and we will do a high flyer event like we did last year as well, because as it mentions there, under the current guidelines, we would have to, if we do an in-person event, it would have to be by reservation, and we'd have to do social distancing. So now understood that those regulations may change on June 15th. So we're definitely looking forward to seeing what that means for us and seeing how that may change how we're planning on doing this. Our approach is to plan for today and then look and see how those regulations might change. But as of today, we can do concerts and the fireworks show. It would be a limited admission. They would have to have reservations, and we would also stream it live via Facebook And the fireworks, of course, will be high flyers, and we'll have the simulcast on Z1077, and we'll have the Facebook Live event. So those who aren't able to attend in person at the location can certainly enjoy it from their homes. So we have the dates there, July 4th, 17th, and 31st. We have concerts planned. We do plan to run them all at Brem Park, just because, like I said, we're planning under today's regulations, and we can fit more pods on that field. It's rather large, and we can fit more members of the public and accept more reservations. We can, if what we plan to do is see how the regulations go, we can make flying changes at a later date. Let's say the regulations really loosen up and we're able to maybe in August add some movie nights, things that are maybe a little bit more cost effective than a concert. But certainly we can make those additions when the time comes if we want to add more programming. We just want to make sure that we were offering items that we could do today. And of course, we just have it on there. It is calendared for us to start taking craft fair registration, and we're going to go ahead and take it because we're optimistic that our holiday events will be hopefully at full throttle. We would love that. We are continuing with summer softball. That's a moderate activity under the guidelines, so we can do adult softball. We will go ahead and have a summer league, so we'll open registration soon. We do a pickup night. It used to be drop-in, but you can't have drop-in anymore under the regulations, so they will have to pre-register to play pickup ball. And Thursday night leagues will also move forward. We will have our summer run also in August. And senior programs, right now, we hope to have senior programs here at the community center. We prefer to do some outdoor senior activities like bocce ball or flower arranging here at the community center. The senior center, we really don't foresee that opening till probably later in the summer. Enrichment classes, we're getting like a slow opening right now. Our offices are now open on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 2, primarily to allow for our customers to come in and register for the grub stakes run if they need assistance with that. Also, it's important to us to allow our aquatics parents, since we do have a new registration system, to allow for our aquatics parents to come in if they choose to do so and get help setting up their account in preparation for aquatic signups, because it's a popular program and we want to make sure we give them a hand if they need it. And sometimes they want to come in and discuss the class levels as well. So we will start on June 1st with some enrichment classes with COVID modifications, and then others will follow depending on the regulations. Aquatics program, the pool will open on June 21st and close on August 13th. That's our normal presentation. And it will be a duplicate of the 2020 presentation of the program details with the COVID modifications. We will offer the full slate of Learn to Swim, Junior Lifeguard, water aerobics, lap swimming, and fun swim. We will keep the same modifications this summer as we did last summer, and those include reduction in swim class size, also the number of classes in the pool at one time, where we normally would run 5, we run 3 or maybe 4, depending on the classes, just to give some extra space between the groups. So there are some modifications, but we are able to offer all of the elements of our traditional aquatics program. One of the really great performances here during COVID, you'll note here our digital exhibits have been so popular at the Hyders at Nature Museum. So Stitching California, the one that we just closed, 877 views. That's just so good. And that's following the veterans from last year that also had nearly that amount or almost similar amount of views. So we have a new digital exhibit that just launched now, and so we hope that it's just as popular as the others. However, you can come in the museum now if you want. It's by appointment, and they're very easy to make. You just go to their website, and the calendar pops up, and it shows the open times, and you can pick one and bring your family members in, up to 10 people, for a private visitation at the Hazardous Nature Museum. Super easy to make the reservation, just a couple of clicks. And so we'll continue with that. They're also keeping up their education mission and offering youth discovery kits every month. The Fossils and Dinosaurs one just went out, and parents can reserve those on their website as well, or contact the museum. The Desert Collaborative Lecture Series is also really popular, averages about 70 people on those online lectures. They're just really great, and that's a collaboration with museums in the region that take turns in providing the content and the lecture. And we have new exhibits in the works. So that concludes the staff report. We do have recreation staff and museum staff online here if you have any questions.
Excellent. If there's, that's the end of the presentation. We'll open it up for the public. Like to come forward? Any comments on the summer program? Summer program comments right now?
I thought you were to...
Sorry, the general comments, I'll have you come up in just a moment. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're going to speak tonight. Wanted you to introduce yourself to everyone. Anyone wanting to make a public comment on the community services programs as presented? All right. Hearing and seeing none, we'll bring it back to the council. Mayor Pro Tem?
Sure. Good presentation, Sue. Do you have a feel, I know you alluded to this, that some people are anxious to get back to the in-person activities, and some are not. Do you have a feel for if they're going to be beaten down the doors, with everything from swim lessons to the softball leagues and the classes and so forth? Or is this going to be a slow process to get people up and involved again? And how does that affect the revenue picture? Since you've gotten really good at virtual stuff, but that's mostly not revenue producing.
Yes. If we go by historically, I mean, last year we had the same aquatics program. We had to make some modifications, but we filled to about 80%. So, it's not as robust, and of course our cost recovery isn't as good as when we're running 5 classes in the pool and full classes in each class. Where aquatics lessons can break even, I would doubt that we're doing that presently with this kind of scaled down version. But we're also not spending a lot of money. We're not having H2O. We're not doing family fun days, which are huge for us. Those aren't permitted either. So it becomes a balance of trying to present some programming, even if our revenues aren't as strong as they have been previously.
Sue, I would tell you to be, first of all, congratulations to the Park and Recreation Department and so forth for the flexibility. We've been very impressed on how you've been innovative as far as offering the public the online opportunities and so forth, and still having projects for them during the holidays for their kids to come up and pick up. It was really great. You guys did a fantastic job. I would challenge you to be very, very flexible in expanding your programs, because if the response is like I see with Tri-Valley Little League,
yeah,
they got kids coming out, they're ready to go, they're signing up, they got a full slate of, even with a scaled down season, they got lots of participation. With the Morongo Unified School District, when we opened up the opportunity to to be on sports teams, they immediately filled up and they were ready to go. These kids are really ready to be active and out there, and I think that goes with the adults too. So hopefully you have some flexibility with your scheduling to be able to add staff or to add swim lessons or programs, because I think you might be bursting at the seams with people wanting to participate. And those participations happened when the news wasn't quite as good with COVID. And now the news is even getting better. And who knows what the governor will do here. New York just opened up a whole lot, and New York and California are pretty similar in philosophy. So maybe we won't even have to wait till June 15th. Who knows? But I'd have your staff ready for an onslaught of people wanting to participate. And I think it's great. It's sort of sad that we only have 3 concerts. But I understand, that it takes a commitment of dollars to line up bands and so forth. And again, someday, hopefully, we'll be able to do other things during the other parts of the year. And because the community really needs gathering places, especially now. People have been isolated for a long time. So outdoor events, I think, will be very well received. Also, I understand, with like the grub stakes signups, I saw, there was restrictions. You can't register at the day of the event. You can't have somebody from out of state come. But that's not our doing. That's the CDC guidelines and those from the state of California. So we definitely have to fall in line with what the state requires. But again, I'm excited to see the activities coming forward. And if you want to expand, I'm all for it. So thank you.
Can you tell us the challenge you were going to make on the run, the grub stakes?
Oh, well, yes. Now, I will be at the run, but I wanted to tell people right now because we want participation. You can't sign up on the day of the event. So that's really important to continue to get that out to the public, that you have to go online and register. Now, our website is fantastic now for registration. We are cutting edge. So I was able to easily register. I was able to easily add my credit card to it. And I'm in the system, so I can always sign up for all the other events coming up. So online registration is super, super easy. And it's a great website, and I think having people be able to do that, not even have to come into town hall, will help. But we do have to have you register first, because everybody who participates, I'm making a donation to a nonprofit, my wife and I, and anybody who beats me in the 5K, I'll be doubling that donation. So I expect a lot of Marines or somebody to show up and beat me in that run so I can give away a lot of money.
Thank you.
Any other comments before we is it a receive and file?
It's a move to approve.
Move to approve, okay.
Just one quick comment. I just want to say thank you once again for your flexibility and most of all your enthusiasm. The PRCC's put in a lot of work. The Youth Commission and the gaming, the e-games that they do is just really gone further than I thought it would. Doing it 7 times a month is a lot of activity, a lot of participation, and people are enjoying it out there. And I know it was one thing that really got a lot of traction when everyone was confined to their pods, as they call them, and their groups. But as we're opening up, it sounds like it's still good. And I'm glad aquatics are coming back. They're very favorable. As the mayor was saying, there's a lot of, I believe, pent-up energy to go out and participate in these events. So thank you. And I'm so glad the fireworks show for 30 years. What a moment. And the high-flying fireworks, I think, were a great solution last year to those that did not want to gather but wanted to still have that feeling of patriotism and memories that we've all experienced over the years with fireworks shows. So thank you. Thanks for all the work. Great.
Mayor, if I could just add one additional comment. The other significant revenue source that we lost this year is facility rental. And so as soon as we're able to have clear guidance from the state on what that looks like and how we're able to open that up, then we're going to do that as soon as we can begin to tap into that revenue source as well. So we're hopeful that that can start maybe as early as June 15th, if not sooner.
What do you estimate the loss of facility rental over the last year?
It's about
About what?
40. It's about 40,000.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no other comments or questions, I look for a motion to accept the recommendations as presented by the Park and Recreation Cultural Commission and our staff.
I'd like to move the item as recommended.
I will second that.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Council members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Mayor Abel.
Yes, thank you. We'll move on to any future agenda items from the council. All right. We'll move on to public comments. At this time, we'll ask anyone who would like to speak to come on up. You will be asked to please state your name and community of residence. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less. Inappropriate behavior which disturbs, disrupts, or otherwise impedes the orderly conduct of the meeting will result in the forfeiture of your public comment privileges. Town Council is prohibited by state law from taking actions or discussing items not on the printed agenda. And I believe our general manager from the High Desert Water District is here. Welcome and come forward, sir.
Hi, I'll show my face so you can see what I look like.
Yes, absolutely.
I just really wanted to introduce myself to the town council, and if I'm saying your name correctly, Yakimo, town manager Yakimo, and everybody else. So I've been here it'll be 7 weeks at the end of this week. It's been a quick 7 weeks. I'm looking forward to working collaboratively and getting to know people. So just wanted to briefly introduce myself. It's Paul Peschel. To make it easy, it rhymes with special.
Very good. Thank you. I need easy, by the way. Thank you. Thank you, Paul, for being here. Appreciate it. Any other members of the public online or in person would like to come up and speak on an item not on the agenda? All right. We thank you, the Water Board member, Mr. McCone, for being here tonight, as well as our fire captains and Sheriff's Department, of course, represented here. We appreciate it. I guess I want to make sure that we approve the budget for the next year for public services and so forth. All right. We'll move on to staff reports and comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I roll over to staff, I think I'm going to start today and just remind the council that today is Ms. Gumbish's last day with us. Jordan will be leaving, not today, Thursday is, but this is her last council meeting. It was about 3 years ago that Jordan came on as a very shy, quiet person, and 3 years later, she's leaving as a shy, quiet person. But that notwithstanding, Jordan came in working for a relatively large personality of our former finance manager, Sharon Cisneros, who also did a great job for us, but very different personality. But early on, I was able to see the technical skill that Jordan brought to the organization. Sharon left, I think, after a week or two that Jordan was here, and Jordan was able to pick up the pieces. I'm not sure how she did it. I kind of always think of her as Superwoman, coming into a new job with 4 kids at the time, or 3 kids at the time, and then added a 4th. So, and I think they were all under 5 years old at the same time, while continuing to complete her master's degree, and then started to work forward on her CPA license. So, all of that while picking up the pieces here, and pretty amazing. And so, Last year when we were out camping, I remember going to some of the campgrounds, and one of the common signs you would see is leave the campsite better than you found it. So in this camping experience, I could definitely say that Jordan has been able to leave our campsite better than she found it. And I think that's evidenced by some of the things that you've seen. For example, our budget this evening being adopted, completed with 3 reviews for the council by the 18th of May is terrific, and I think that's the earliest we've ever done that. So those types of successes, I think, speak volumes. And then just to know that the sacrifices that her and her family are making on behalf of their kids is inspirational. So we're going to miss you, Jordan, dearly, but we wish you all the best as you move into your new adventure. So with that, Captain, you have anything for us this evening? All right. Shane, you have anything?
Mayor and Council, this coming Tuesday night, your Planning Commission will be holding a housing element workshop. It's mandated by state law as part of that process. Council, you'll also recall that tied together with the housing element update, there are some minor changes that are mandated by state law to both the safety element as well as the conservation element. So this coming Tuesday evening, the 25th, is that public outreach workshop, structured for attending in person or online through Zoom. And we also have Spanish translation available for that meeting, as well as the PowerPoint presentations are provided in both English and Spanish. Also that night, Planning Commission will be holding a public hearing on the Aldi project. That's at the Rite Aid Center, or the Warren Vista Center, as many know it. So we're looking forward to getting that project finished up and through the process. At their last meeting, Planning Commission approved Habit Burger as well as Tiny Pony. Tiny Pony being a new restaurant bar on the Outer Highway South to the east of Joshua Lane. So that will be a very, I think, welcome addition to the eating establishments in this community. I want to thank some Public Works employees who turned out for Saturday's cleanup day: Robert Adams, Ron Rice, Caleb Buchanan, and Rick Shigley. Thank you for the extra effort that you put out to make that event successful. I want to remind everyone, including the council, the Yucca Valley Animal Shelter is open for animal adoptions. There are lots of animals waiting for their new forever home, so please visit the animal shelter and pick up your new forever animal. Finally, Jordan, thank you from ComDev and Public Works. You never know what happens when you have finance types, but there's a few words that describe what Jordan brought, I think, for every employee in our department. Young, bright, energetic, quick and accurate answers, on top of her game. And then finally, one thing that's great to have out of your finance person is confidence in their numbers. And Jordan was an absolute pleasure to work with, and we wish her the best. Across the board through ComDev and Public Works, when people said Jordan's name, you could see the confidence they had in the information that she and her staff provided on a daily basis. So thank you, and the best of luck to you.
Thank you, staff. Appreciate that. We'll move on to council member comments and reports. We'll start with council member Drodes.
Well, I think the main focus tonight, what an encouraging meeting, but the main focus is Jordan. And what an incredible time in Yucca Valley in 3 years. So thank you for everything you've done. Everything I hear is wonderful. And I don't work with you on a daily basis, but you've always been quick to respond. And I wish you all the luck with your move. So thank you very much. And I think that's about it. I just want to say thanks to everyone, but tonight is Jordan night.
All right. Thank you. Councilmember Dennison.
Yeah, I'd just like to say the same thing. Thank you, Jordan. Your reports are always great. Even tonight, they were new graphics. They were very easy and pleasing. I don't like too many items on any one sheet. 6 is my limit, and you were about 4. So I pay attention. It's very digestible, and really not just for us that can read everything, because we get it ahead of time, is the public gets to understand with clarity of what's going on and how we're managing, our budget. So thank you for that. But I remember when you got here, you had about 1 week of barely a welcome, and then you are right into, trying to get everything put together and get on track, and you have not missed a beat, and I'm very proud of you, and I wish you the very best to you and your family and your future, and success to you. Thank you for helping us. It's appreciated.
Excellent. Thank you. We go to Councilmember Lombardo.
Jordan, a lot of the same echoes from me. Always been bright and bubbly and real energetic and on target for the things that were needed, and we appreciate very much your efforts in our community and keeping us on budget. I think it was pretty amazing the way that the planning for the budget has gone. Always very smoothly, well explained, and we've had some really good results, and we thank you for staying on track with all that. I want to welcome Paul to the community, and we look forward to working with the Water District hand in hand, and we've got a lot of confidence that you'll carry on in the great tradition of the past, and you've got a lot of new duties there with the sewer system, and I hope that's all going smoothly. It seems to be. we like to be updated every once in a while just so we know how things are going. So please feel free to come back and spread news of what's happening and keep us informed. We thank our Sheriff's Department for being there, protecting us, and we realize that we just approved a budget that has a large portion to do with your services, and we thank you. We know it's a special thing, and having a community that's safe is very important to us, and it's our top priority. And you've lived up to that very well, and we thank you. It's Susan. It's nice to have the rec department operating so fully. There's always, lots of enthusiasm in your presentations, and you've got a great staff that seems to be really pumping out the work, even in a really strange time. I think we're all anxious to get back, and it looks like it's happening a little bit at a time now. It won't be too much longer, hopefully, and I look forward to the concerts in the park again. That was always fun, and it's maybe a little limited this year, but we'll get back on it. And there'll be all sorts of fun things coming up, I'm sure, the film festival and all that sort of thing coming down the line. So you've been amazingly productive with all the limitations put on you, and I think it speaks well to your ingenuity and creativity and your staff's hard work. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we get to see the town manager in closed session, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We'll move on to Mayor Pro Tem Schooler.
Well, ditto all of those comments. Great reports tonight, and congrats on the cleanup day. I think, that was a long time coming, and I'm glad to see it was a success. And Jordan, all the superlatives that you've gotten tonight, you deserve those. It's just the confidence that you've inspired, in the reports and the clarity, and making this whole process so smooth, a budget is much appreciated. I'm a veteran of some pretty rough times during this time of year on budget, and it's just a pleasure to have this clarity and these reports and this confidence, and we do wish you and Michael and the kids the best.
Thank you. Well, thank you again, Jordan. Appreciate it. I'm hoping that your experience added to your expertise in the field, and that we brought a lot to you that you can take with you in the next endeavor. I know our staff is very, very proud of the work you've done, and so is the council. Also, you probably made an arrangement with the people running the cameras not to show your picture up there up close as we're talking about you, because it is embarrassing. It only seems like council members love to have the camera on them, but you work behind the scenes. You do an excellent job. You're articulate. You are professional. You're a very strong individual, and you will be successful in anything that you do in the future. And I know that you have a lot of people who will write letters of recommendation for you. So all the best. Godspeed and protection as you guys move, and good luck to your future. I'm very, very proud that our staff has opened the lobby to the public. I know that we take special precautions, but I think it's important for the public to have the option to either do work online or to meet with somebody over the counter. So I am very, very glad that the town has moved forward with that, and it's not caused any issues or problems. So thank you, staff, for making that happen. I was able to attend the Planning Commission meeting the other night, and your staff did an excellent job, and the meeting was run very, very smoothly. I appreciate all the work that our committees do. Our commissioners do an excellent job for very, very little pay, and our staff did a wonderful job in presenting the materials, very clear, and gave the public every opportunity to give input. I spoke with several residents during the week on their concerns with the price of rentals in the area, the affordability issue, which we know is not just the Morongo Basin, but it's countywide, it is statewide. Affordable housing is always an issue, and also the impact of Airbnb. So I was able to speak to those individuals on the phone, and I invite you to please keep the dialogue open with every one of your council members, including myself. We always try to do our best to get back to you in a timely manner. We represent you, so we want to hear of your concerns and so forth. I also had the opportunity to attend the Miss Yucca Valley Scholarship Pageant, which was an excellent and well received. There was a lot of people there that night, and it was very, very wonderful to see the participation, but also very encouraging to see young people so articulate, so well versed in the issues, and again, powerful women up there on stage, young women presenting themselves. And we'll have the opportunity to have them come to our council so we can meet them in person. And so I invite you to come on the night that the Miss Yucca Valley and her court arrive. With that, I believe we're going to be moving into we're going to adjourn into the successory agency. But before that, our next meeting for the regular town council meeting will be Tuesday, June 1st at 6 o'clock right here in the Yucca Valley room. And we're going to adjourn to our successor agency, and that is item 20 in our book. So we will adjourn to that at this point. Thank you for those who are attending the regular council meeting. Does anyone need a break before we go into the next meeting?
This meeting should last all of about 3 minutes. Oh, Jordan tells me 2.
Okay, I think we can make it. All right, we'll go ahead and open it up. We are moving into the successory agency meeting. For redevelopment agency, we'll go with roll call, please.
Agency members Dennison,
Here.
Droz,
Here.
Lombardo,
Here.
Schooler,
Here.
and Chair Abel.
Here. Need a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll move.
So moved.
Oh, I'll
Second.
All right, we had member Schooler with a motion and member Lombardo with a second.
Agency members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Chair Abel.
Yes. Move on to consent agenda. Can we go ahead and read those items?
Sorry about that, Chair. Just one item on your consent agenda, the regular meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2021.
Oh, okay, very good. I'm sorry, I didn't flip the page. Do we have a motion for that? Anybody in the public wanting to make a comment on the consent agenda? Seeing and hearing none, do I have a motion?
I'll move the item for consent.
Member Dennison moved, and Lombardo second.
Agency members Dennison,
Yes.
Droz,
Yes.
Lombardo,
Yes.
Schooler,
Yes.
and Chair Abel.
Yes, the votes are going to take as long as the report. Okay, we'll move on to our department reports. Oh, you're still here, Jordan?
I'm still here.
Oh, okay.
Nah, she's leaving.
For all of the lovely comments. Thank you to Town Council. You guys are always so supportive with all of my presentations. I think this is the most public speaking I've ever done anywhere, and I appreciate you guys always being kind to me. And I wanted to thank management. They are all super supportive, and I've learned so much from all of them, and I will miss everyone here very, very much. And now I have to go through a presentation really quickly. So we're going to go through the last and final ROPS for the successor agency. As you're all familiar with, there was an annual ROPS that was approved by the county and the Department of Finance every year. We were able to put together a last and final. The successor agency was eligible to put that together, and we presented that to the Countywide Oversight Board on March 8th of 2021. It's currently pending review from the Department of Finance, who has 100 days from the submission of the report to approve, and hopefully they will go forward with that. So the purpose mainly for the last and final ROPS is to reduce the administrative functions of the successor agency. So there's 2 items on that last and final. It's the debt service payments and the administrative allowance. So this will be for the periods of July 2021 through June 2038. And that will result in the completion of the debt service obligations. The total debt service payments for the period will be $9.9 million, and the current proposed administrative allowance is $1.9 million.
Just one additional comment on that. Just go to that previous slide. On the administrative allowance, how much is that a year, Jordan?
I'd have to look at it.
It's about 100 and some, right?
Yep.
100,000.
Correct.
DOF has not has not approved any last and final with that level of administrative allowance. We would expect them to come back, reject our last and final, and then negotiate something that is palatable to both the Department of Finance and the town or the successor agency. Once we have a pretty good handle on what level of administrative reporting we're still going to have to do versus what we do today, if we can get to a place where we feel comfortable, then it's likely that number will come down significantly. 100,000, it may come in half of that. I think we'd be pretty happy if we got 40 to 50,000 a year. The alternative is if you don't have a last and final, then you go through this exercise of cash balance reconciliation, and then the preparation of the annual ROPS. You have to go down to meet with the county oversight board. So there's a number of administrative tasks that would continue to do so. We would continue to try and get the maximum allowable, but the last time that we were there, the countywide oversight board rejected our first try at administrative allowance cap of 250, which is the legislated maximum that you can get, or minimum, but they were going under the direction of DOF that they had a fiduciary responsibility to try and negotiate that lower or direct that lower. So I don't know there's a whole lot of real good options for the successor agency other than if the successor agency felt philosophically predisposed to wanting to fight this battle and enter into some kind of litigation with the Department of Finance. So we'll wait and withhold judgment on that until we go through this exercise with DOF and see what we can come up with. And truly, if it is a hands-off to the degree that we think it might be, then it may make sense to accept a lower administrative allowance and not have to deal with this until our debt service is retired in 2038, I think that's right, 2038, something like that.
Thank you, Curtis. So the next steps will be the review by the Department of Finance. As Curtis mentioned, there might be potential administrative allowance negotiations, and then hopefully an approval by the DOF, which would be due June 16th. As Curtis mentioned, the ongoing administrative duties would hopefully be reduced from conversations with the Department of Finance. All that we would have to continue to do are the biannual debt service payments, the annual debt disclosure and transparency reports, and then the inclusion in the annual audit and comprehensive annual financial report. So that's a lot less. We have, as you mentioned, prior period adjustment reporting, cash flow reporting. They regularly audit every year, so we have to provide scans of everything. So that would hopefully be a lot less if they did approve. So the recommended action for this item is to approve the resolution adopting the last and final annual recognized obligation payment schedule for the period from July 1, 2021 through June 30, or that should say 30, or 2038. My apologies.
2038.
Yep. And that's the conclusion of this presentation.
Any member of the public wishing to speak? All right. Bringing it back. I noticed the terminology was allow minor changes by the staff. 50% reduction, you're considering that minor?
Where's that in the recommendation? I don't see that.
The full recommendation is in the department report. So it says that the agency approved the resolution adopting the last and final ROPS for the period July 1, 2021 through June 30, 2038, allowing minor changes to be made by staff based on recommendations by the Department of Finance.
And just as a point of explanation, so I guess, without sounding sarcastic, quite frankly, it doesn't matter what the successor agency wants to do or approve, because the ROPS is approved by your county-wide oversight board, and that amount can only be approved by the county-wide oversight board or by the DOF in consultation with and in negotiation with the public agency. So those are the only two that can adjust the amount. So the county-wide oversight board did tell towns or successor agency staff to go back and come back with a revised amount, which we did for your current fiscal year or your upcoming ROPS. And in the future, again, that amount can only be revised by the DOF, either in negotiation with the successor agency staff or by the countywide oversight board. So we bring it to the successor agency for your information. It would be within the purview of the successor agency if we came back, and I think what we would do is, hearing the concern of the successor agency, is before we would finalize any amount with the Department of Finance, we would come back and seek that approval from the successor agency board. And if you were comfortable with that, then we would do it. If you were not, then we would provide you with those other options, whether it be litigation or some other avenue.
All right, and the legal counsel, I'm assuming that this is not isolated to us. And when they set a minimum number or, that we're allowed to collect, and they're trying to negotiate it down, they're doing it with everybody's agencies, is that correct? And is there any appetite for a joint suit against them for changing the rules on us?
To answer your first question, yes, that is correct. Applies to everyone. Second question, as far as whether there is appetite amongst other agencies, I don't know the answer to that right now.
Because I imagine with us, it's sort of minor dollars, but other agencies, it's quite substantial.
It potentially could be.
All right. So I just didn't know if we should strike the word minor changes and just allow staff to make those recommendations as presented and make that decision?
Yeah, I think we've heard from the successor agency, so before we finalize anything with DOF, we would schedule it to come back to the board for review.
All right. So I'll make a motion, if there's no other discussion, to go ahead with the recommendation as presented tonight.
I'll second the motion.
Roll call.
Agency members Dennison.
Yes.
Droz.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Chair Abel.
Yes, thank you. Department report number 3.
All right. So the proposed budget for fiscal year 21-22 for the successor agency to the former Yucca Valley Redevelopment Agency has minimal items. The annual proposed budget is based on the current approved fiscal year 21-22 ROPS schedule. The revenues will be received from the RDA payments to cover the annual debt service payments of $584,914 and the annual administrative allowance of $117,000. Going forward, the successor agency may be able to adopt a 2-year budget in the next budget cycle, and that will all be based on the approval of the last and final ROPS staff just reviewed. So that is the summation of the department report. It's recommended that the agency adopt a resolution for approval of the fiscal year 21-22 budget and designating those officials authorized for encumbrances against appropriations. I would be glad to answer any questions you may have about the proposed budget.
All right. There's no one online? All right. There's nobody in the public online or in the room. So we open it up to the public. No one's here. We'll bring it back to the members. Looking for a recommendation or a motion, excuse me.
I'll move.
So moved.
And I'll second staff's recommendation.
Lombardo and Dennison.
Agency members Dennison.
Yes.
Droz.
Yes.
Lombardo.
Yes.
Schooler.
Yes.
And Chair Abel.
Yes, thank you. Any future agenda items? Any public comments? All right, we are going to adjourn from this meeting. So the successor agency is adjourned. We reconvene as the town council. And from the town council meeting, we're going to move on to closed session. Are there any public comments about closed session before we move into closed session? All right, hearing and seeing none. If there's any reportable action, we will make sure we make that announcement at the end of the meeting. Thank you for those who have attended.